low as possible on like this, and take this back down. All right, I'm going to bring this one in, bring this one in. Now, I need to push the whole thing this way, center it up. All right, and now what we're going to do is raise that one, screw that screw up until that's touching, until we're just about straight up and down. Okay, good. All right, now, I'm not going to make it perfect, because I actually want this thing lean a little bit forward so I can get on this nut. If I make it straight up and down, this is under here, and I can't get to it. Okay, so I want it leaning out just a little bit. So you see what we've done? These are at different levels to get on different parts of the spring as it comes around. But I want to be as low as possible on that spring with that part. I want to be as high as possible on this part. Actually, so raise it up a little bit until this one, actually hang on.
No, that's it.
Pull the pin, just push that up to there. So that's pretty close. And this one, I don't think, let's see if I can, yes. Okay, so now I'm as high as possible as I can be on this part. So that now, as we start cranking this down, we're going to compress that spring. Okay, and I want to make sure that I've got good contact all the way around on all of these, because I don't want it coming loose. Everybody's got your safety glasses on, right?
It's gonna suck.
Why you guys all look at me?
Cause you're the one that nobody doesn't have them
You
on.
didn't have your safety glasses on.
I would
If
step.
feel bad,
Alright.
you guys talk to me.
So we're going to keep going down.
If that spring's loose, I'd step back. You might have the nuts.
Well, and here's the thing, this can hurt you. Okay? Coil springs are one of the things that damage technicians the most. Holding one of these down with a ratchet strap is highly, highly dangerous.
Tell the
You
ratchet
want to
strap
be
breaks.
around when it fails.
No, I don't want to be around anything when it fails. I don't want to be
Okay?
around the car when
A
it
ratchet strap is a bad idea. You may have gotten away with it, but that doesn't mean it's a good idea, does it?
No,
How they took it off?
Think about all the dumb things you did as a teenager.
Nothing.
Okay? I
I'm
got
just
away
like-
with some of
I'm
them.
just gonna hold you.
I remember nights when I don't remember how I got home. Because I lived, does that mean it was a good idea? No. Okay?
Means it was a
So
great idea.
we worry about safety.
Just because you lived, it means it was a great idea.
Yeah.
It means do it
All right.
again.
We're only going to compress far enough that it's loose. Now, how am I going to know when it's loose?
It'll be like that.
Okay, so now what we do, and we're pretty close. I don't know if we can get on with the impact. Can you get on with the impact? All right, so what do we do?
Breaker bar.
Wobble.
No.
Wobble.
Well, you could do a wobble, but I don't like wobbles. Wobbles tend to hit you in the nose. Okay? An extension.
Yeah.
Okay? If we use an extension, this can get on there, and we can probably get the extension past it. In the top of my yellow box, there should be a black extension, top drawer. Should be a black extension about that long.
I have just this.
Okay? Now, here's the reason why we're using an impact. This is a lock nut. And if I just put a ratchet on there, the whole thing, this shaft that the nut's on, is the center of the shock. Well, what's on the other end of the shock is that piston, right? The whole thing can spin very freely inside there. When you use an impact, are you on good enough? Okay. Bang! Don't round it off. If you think you're going to round it off, don't do it. Stop! Dude, how many times are you going to spin that? You either were already off or you were rounded. Okay? When it spins free like that, guys, stop. Alright? Alright, so how far did we get? Okay? So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to hold some down pressure on this. Okay? I'll do it. To let it come off. But you want to hang on to this or it's going to hit the ground. Alright, go ahead. Hit it one more time. If it spins free, don't keep it spinning. Good. All right. So now our old strut is out. We put our new strut back up in there. We'll put it right back together. Okay. This is our strut top. You may need to buy one of these. In fact, this one, the bearing is bad in it. This is the reason why I have this. This guy, instead of buying just a new strut top, he went ahead and bought a quick strut, bought the entire assembly. So pieces of it are down inside here, but you can see see the rubber piece here? That's the insulator we were talking about. We want to make sure that's in there when we put this thing back together. Okay? There's not an insulator here because this is the end that's against the body of the car. This end is not. So vibrations or noises that happen here are not going to transmit it into the body nearly as much as any noise or vibration that happens here. So don't be too surprised if on the bottom there's not a seat. Okay. All right. So we put it back. One thing you're going to want to do is try and remember when you take it apart. Remember where these bolts are in relationship to everything else, because these will be tight. And sometimes it's kind of a pain once the nut's on there and everything's tightened down to get it turned back around where it's supposed to be. So if this was sitting in there like this, and these 3 bolts were sitting there like that, we're going to want to put the new one back in the same way. This going this way and those 3 bolts going that way, so that when we put it back in the car, these studs are about where they're supposed to be. That make sense? All right. Now, there's where the end of the spring goes. So when I put this back in, it's going to go in just like that. Okay? You'll have to line it up. Start your nut by hand.
If I could reach the nut, or if I could reach the threads.
So you may have to put it on the socket.
Well, no,
is it not going down all the way?
No, it's not.
Okay,
The strut mount's not going all the way down.
What's holding us up?
I don't. Come.
There we go.
Oh, that's sitting there. It's not coming up enough on the.
Okay, so we may have to compress. Go ahead and compress it another couple of turns. There?
Everything before.
Okay.
So do you always have to use an impact on this?
It's the easiest way. Now, if I don't have an impact, I can use a wrench, and if you look in the top of it, there's a hex in the top of the stud sticking up. You hold it with a hex wrench, and you turn it with a wrench. That's a pain in the rear. If you have an impact, make sure this is lined up. Make sure this is lined up where it's supposed to be, and run it down.
Sitting there spinning, I think.
Okay, and sometimes it'll do that. Now, if you're trying to get an old one off, I'll get in here with a pair of channel locks and hold this. You don't want to do that with your new one though, because with your new one, you're going to scar this surface up, and it'll start leaking. You heard it change tone?
Yeah.
We're all the way down. But
No, it's just
loosen it up.
Yeah.
How do you know when it's tight enough where when you uncompress it, it doesn't
Other
like
way.
pop
Other way.
off?
Other way.
Well, the nut's on. See how far the nut's on?
Yeah.
That should be about the same as it was before. Okay. Also, you heard it bottom out. The impact stopped turning. Okay. If I was doing the hex key and the wrench, it would get tight. would get really hard, and it would feel like it was all the way down.
So what'd you do with the
Do 2 hands. That's not going to protect you. It's just going to run your fingers through your balls.
And
Okay?
you're gonna have broken balls and broken fingers.
Yes. All right, it's loose. All right, does that make sense? All right, we're not going to do it at this point because we only got about 9 minutes. Okay. But before the day is over, I want all of you to have taken this strut apart and put it back together. Okay?
Don't mess them up.
Oh, you're gonna have to adjust them now. Watch carefully. So, all right. Does it make sense? It's not a complex operation. Stop it. Stop it. Okay, but it is dangerous. Okay, if you don't get these fingers in all the way, so that the spring compresses and stays there. This is one. This is one of the things that hurts techs. I've got in my toolbox. I've got a little set of mobile spring compressors that you can run in, and you run them down, and they'll squeeze the spring. A lot of guys get hurt on those. Okay?
And still, we can do it up this way, right?
What's
If
that?
you flip it upside down, which is from down. Does it work this way too?
Probably not. Probably wouldn't be able to get the strut out the top. You might. I've never seen anybody do one upside down.
It depends for the spot. If it doesn't reach here.
But see, it's got to come out. It's got to slide out. So you'd have to have it out here where you could slide this way. So there's not really any advantage to doing it upside down.
Although I could see it springing someone in the face. They did it upside down.
Will this thing ever like explode and just break completely?
What's that?
Explode. There might be explosives in it.
No, not explode like a
There's
bomb,
nothing
but like
fun
just break
inside
apart
the
and fly.
Springs break. They don't usually fly anywhere. It can't get away from that. If it breaks, it breaks it. Springs break. A lot of times, if this spring breaks right here, it'll just sit down on the next coil, and you'll have a lower ride height on that corner. It's pretty common to see that. It'll make a grinding noise or a popping noise when you turn. So always look for a broken spring. If you see 2 coils laying right on top of each other, that spring's broke. 2 coils right together means the spring's broke. Make sense? Okay. If you can't remember how it all works, the directions for this thing are right here. Okay. You want to be careful. They show. They got the upper hooks on the spring support. I don't like doing that. I like being on the spring with the uppers and the lowers. Otherwise, those instructions are pretty much.
Do some of these come with like a little safety thing that goes over the spring itself?
Some of them might.
Seems like it'd be
Why?
better. That way it can't let go because it's on there.
Well, once you've got pressure on it, it can't get out of here.
Yeah.
If you've done it correctly. So, the thing is, if you're paying attention to the details, then this is not a terribly dangerous thing. If you're not paying attention to the details, that's when you get hurt. And that's really with anything we do. We work around heavy stuff. We work around stuff that's got tension on it, like these springs, brake systems. If you're not paying attention, you can get hurt.